Good afternoon, everyone. It's Dr. Latrecchiano. Welcome back. I know this was a little bit of a challenging week because we had uh, residency as well as trying to move forward in the curriculum. What I am going to talk about today is how assignment 1 is working. I know you started a little bit on it last week. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the finer details here so everyone feels that their time is being used very productively. One of the things we try to do in this course is allow you to use some of your class work to contribute to your actual assignments. We know you have a lot going on, and we want to make sure that the assignments are really contributing, the activities each week are contributing to the assignments that you will be doing. If you recall, I know you've had a lot of information come your way, but if you recall last time, we had our Takeout Tuesday. I said that to accommodate for a shorter residency weekend in November, which some people have asked for, what we decided to do was to have your assignment 1 prepared prior to residency instead of given at residency. This actually makes a little less work for you on the one hand, because you'll only be critiquing 2 other people in your group. So let me just reiterate. I've left up in red what the changes are to the assignment. So what's going to happen is you're not going to present at residency on November 5th to 7th. You're going to create a recorded presentation and post it to the discussion board by Sunday, October 31st. Okay. Then your responsibility would be to critique the 2 other people in your circle. If you look down here, I put together circles. The 2 other people and use the rubric here. Sorry about that. At the bottom of the rubric to provide feedback for the presenter. Okay, so the difference here is you're not preparing your presentation for residency, you're preparing it for October 31st, Halloween, and then you'll have from the 31st to the 5th, the beginning of residency, to review those other 2. They shouldn't be more than 20 minutes. That any more than that gets a little out of hand. And we will, at residency, talk about what you've gotten out of this experience of putting together this series of slides. Now, why are we doing this at all? Let me back up and give you a greater sense of what the purpose of this is. If you recall, when we started the semester, I talked about the importance of doing cross-disciplinary work, and that is why we put together science teams. So science teams are usually teams of highly diverse individuals. If they're knowledge producing teams, they're working on a project that has some sort of product in mind, which might be a discovery or possibly a drug, or it might be a product or something like that. But they use their different skills learned from their disciplines to contribute to looking at the problem in many different ways. That sounds like a great idea. It's often saddled with a lot of confusion when you have people that are used to speaking one language from their discipline to other people that just don't conceptualize things in the exact same way. So we're taking a backup now. So in the first third of the semester, we were talking more about the team science part and how to look at teams and the lens we look through. In this middle section of the semester, we're going to think more about the cross-disciplinary part. And the book you're using, Repko and Stotek, which looks like this, I think you all have either an electronic copy of it or maybe even the full book, takes you through these series of steps. and how you manage what goes on when you're trying to understand how you're going to use possibly in the language of this book, anthropology, engineering, and art history to look at a problem from those different perspectives and the traditions of scholarship of those perspectives. Now, it's more likely that the types of problems that you'll be working on and the types of research designs you'll be putting together in your lifetime may not be quite that distant from each other, but rather might be more public policy folks working with possibly pediatrics and developmental disabilities. And though that's diverse, they're a little closer together, but that doesn't leave out the fact that some can work in much more diverse teams. Like, for instance, we have a PhD student who's trying to understand better what neuroaesthetics and art therapy can learn from each other. And those are very different disciplines. One is grounded in neurology and the study of brainwaves. And of course, art therapy is the therapy using different media and modalities of creativity, and she's trying to grapple with those two disciplines. Well, those two disciplines don't share a whole lot when it comes to language, terminology, etc. That's what Repco and Stotek are taking us through, that a stepwise consideration. So in the first, last week, you started to define a problem. And by the way, that problem can be anything you're interested in. It has nothing to do with your team observation assignment. Somebody asked me that. It could be some problem you're just really interested in. Maybe you came into the program saying, you know, I think I want to do something in the area of spina bifida. Okay, well, you might be able to use this assignment as a way to think about what would be a cross-disciplinary approach to research in spina bifida. So in your first couple slides, you've defined a problem, justified a cross-disciplinary approach, identified relevant disciplines, conducted a preliminary literature search, which only has to be a handful of articles, maybe 4 or 5 or 6 at the most, and identify how adequacy will affect your ability to solve this problem. Okay, and the concept of adequacy that you learned from the book is your ability to know where you might want to look or might need to look to include disciplines that are important. So if you take something like spina bifida, you might need to make sure that you're looking into the literature on developmental disabilities. You may also need to look into the literature on spinal cord injury, possibly, or you might need to look at genetics and conditions that children are born with at birth, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, you're explaining why you need to look at those different disciplines. And of course, they all look at the problem differently. Now, as you go through chapters 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, sorry about that, I know that's a lot of chapters, you're going to start to be more focused on analyzing the problem, identifying the conflicts between the different disciplines, creating a common ground between those conflicts, suggesting more comprehensive understanding, and reflecting on how you might require to communicate your understanding of those new insights. This is what we do in translational science. We take what is written in maybe 5 different languages, and we create a language that's understood once looking at those different perspectives. After reading chapter 9, you're going to identify the source of these conflicts, why they're different. Why is anthropology different from neurology? Well, because they're based in different understandings of how the world works. And then after reading chapters 10 and 11, you're going to identify the 6 core ideas about creating common ground. You're going to create common ground between conflicting concepts and assumptions. conflicting ethical positions, if there are any, or common ground between insights that have a theoretical base. Now, this is an exercise. It's an activity, just like you do other activities in this course. We don't intend for this to be a major research design, but rather a way to think through whatever it is this problem that you're thinking about is in a stepwise manner, so you can get used to understanding why different disciplines might need to work together and what the challenges and conflicts are that go along with those disciplines working with each other. You may also notice that in the session introduction, both last week and this week, there is a PowerPoint presentation. The voice you may not be familiar with, that's Dr. Debbie Diaz-Granados. She's a colleague of mine who used to teach this course with me, and she is a professor at Virginia Commonwealth University and also an adjunct professor in our department in clinical research and leadership. So I encourage you all, as you're going through this process, to not worry about being too verbose. It's an exercise to make sure you can walk yourself through these multiple steps so that if you were to be working on, say, a dissertation problem, or research questions associated with your dissertation, you would be able to think about, okay, what are the different disciplines that I need to include in trying to deal with this particular problem? Good luck with it. In the discussion board, there is a place, oh, sorry, it's very slow. There is a place for you to be able to put questions you might have. It's sessions 5, 6, and 7. If you want to post some slides that you've put together and get insights from either Dr. Lai or myself or each other, please do so. This is the part of the semester where you're spending a good amount of time working on this particular presentation for residency, and then also on the side, you're working on that team observation assignment that'll also be due later in the semester. It's to give you a chance to, put a little more work into this course right now, as you might have a little bit less work in another course. I hope this was helpful. As always, please email us and send us your questions in the question board. And I look forward to seeing you next time we have a face-to-face on Zoom at our next Takeout Tuesday. Have a great evening and good luck with this. Bye-bye.